boys left their pride wearing when they're about 2, and they're still sisters and they're still that's just like since these boys do lots of practice for that. They like to wrestling. Lots of showing dominance for practice with their pride. And not just stealing food from other animals.
Got another one there.
Much better, more successful hunters than lions.
That was super cool, wasn't it? Saying that.
The other dude.
Go have a look at another side.
But personally, this is the first time I've seen them have more than 2 items because poll so maybe that's the best trend. Get 2 items and maybe first time I saw them go up here, they actually climb on the bark and that is so heavy and strong.
Oh, they had enough.
Yeah, they actually pulled along the bark up and first time they jumped up.
I wanted to see him get up this good one.
We allow the animals to exhibit many natural behaviours that we can, and that means that the feeding regime is part of it. The challenge then is to give them something really and challenging to do all the time, because these guys don't hunt every day. You have to make it interesting when they do. Go get a meal. And in the interim, other kinds of enriching activities. Now, it is pretty normal for cats to sleep. If you guys have cats at home, you know that they sleep probably about 60 or more than 60% of the time that they're alive.
But I don't understand hide.
When they are eating, you can make it interesting, like what we're doing here. But there are other types of enrichment as well. Like I said, these guys and a lot of cats are really sensitive to smell. So things like other animal scents, scent of other strong smells like spices and perfumes. Even toothpaste, soy sauce, Vegemite, anything that has a strong smell that they can interact with safely is really cool, really good idea. These boys will tend to just mark their own territory. Now, some of our cats really are big into smell. I think that these guys have narrowed it down to the smells that they're biggest fans of. And I would say that Ndidi especially is a big fan of eucalyptus leaves. So we get branches from the koalas and the kangaroos and wombats. And when they've finished eating those branches and they've finished using them, they go in here and they love it. I don't know if they love the smell of the animals. You know, if you've ever heard of kangaroo males tend to smell like maple syrup. Maybe it's that. But it could also just be the tree itself. Quite a novel smell with gum trees. And he'll detect that as an interesting smell in his territory and he tends to roll around it, or even sometimes marking his territory, marking his scent over that smell. All the skills that this team here and the zookeepers that work around lions are using the knowledge of animal behaviour to come up with interesting ways that they can enrich them. And part of that is also the enclosure design and the way that they like to be up nice and tall, have their own territory, but also have a good preview over everything in the zoo. Wow. And that allows them to sort of have their domain. Now, these boys think they are the kings of the whole country. They've never heard a challenge. And they do tend to call out this lion call that you might hear later in the afternoon. It's not a roar that you hear when they're roaring at you or another animal, or another lion, but it's a lion call, sort of like the bird sounds you hear right now, or frog sounds or insect sounds. So it's just a sound saying, I'm a lion, I'm a male lion, I'm here. the trick with lions is they're really smart with that. You'll hear them doing this repetitive sound. It's a grunting sort of sound, and it goes over and over again. It's very bassy, very loud, and it will travel many kilometres in the wild. Now, these two boys can convince other lions around to stay out of their area by playing a trick, and it's to do with the syncopation of the way that they make their grunts and their roars. They do them offset and at sort of sporadic times. So if you were to listen in, you couldn't actually tell if it was 2 lions or maybe 6 lions. You can definitely tell it's not one because it's impossible for them to make that sound, but you can't tell how many there are. And it travels like a really far way. If they don't get a response, they're pretty confident that they're the top lions in that area, which is really interesting. For these boys, like I said, it doesn't travel all the way to Werribee, so they probably have an overinflated sense of how important they are in this part of their territory.
Bye bye, lion.
Think about. And one of the most interesting things you noticed when they first started doing those calls is they would do them against the glass or in their little dens where it's probably sounded a lot louder than it was. Now that they're much more mature, their manes are fully grown in, they're going to be able to be heard. I think people can hear them who live around the corner from here, so they're pretty impressive. Now, lion conservation is one of the things that is quite challenging in Africa because there are lots of different lions in different places and they're often governed by different rules. One thing's for certain is the biggest issue is the balance. The role lions have in the wild is as a predator, and predators are important for, well, making sure that the carrion is disposed of. There's not a bunch of overrun with a plague of flies or other animals that feed off of carrion, and diseases not spreading amongst animals that are sitting around decaying. Also, the fact that lions control populations of other animals. If there weren't predators like lions at the top of the food chain, other predators would be way higher in number, and there would be a bigger number of these herbivores that they prey on a lot. Things animals that could damage the ecosystem as far as the amount of herbivores there are, that affects the amount of plants that are available, and sometimes animals are known to eat themselves out of house and home without predators, and that's pretty tragic. So predators like lions are really important. We've got a sort of parallel but opposite problem here in Victoria, and that is predators that don't belong, or too many predators of a different kind that result in the opposite problem, where they're animals that are trying to survive and are being threatened by those introduction of predators. So both really difficult problems, but different solutions. So we try to come up with our own little way that you in your everyday life can have an impact. And you've already made a big impact as they come to
Have a look at another side. Oh, this one coming.
every year, while they